Thanks for checking out this episode of the Growl podcast. I had a tremendous time talking with Snowy Shaw. Sat down for a couple hours, could have went for 8 hours. The conversation was easy, and Snowy's a great guy to talk to. Started way back with his early beginnings with King Diamond and jumping into the world touring situation as a young man, all the way up through the release a couple years back here for his book. The Book of Heavy Metal. Snowy has a very storied history and is willing to share, and he's got great stories and great insight into the music industry as a whole. Very great guy, very dynamic personality. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation. No, we did not cover everything. It would have taken 2 days to do all of that. Snowy's been in so many bands, so many great bands through history. Tried to touch base on what I thought you guys would be interested in hearing from his little run with Dimmu Borgir, all the way through Momento Mori, some Notre Dame stuff in there too. It's just, there's so much to cover with this guy. It's amazing. But he was fantastic, and I know you're going to enjoy this conversation. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, once again, please subscribe to the channel. Just take a second right now. I'll wait. Thank you. And hit that little notification bell so you don't miss when we do drop new episodes. Thank you once again for all of your support, and enjoy the show.
Good day, sir.
Hello. Awesome. I was going to say long time no see, but I never seen you before. I mean, we only had contact via email and stuff. So, yeah.
I know, it's funny how modern times work, isn't it? You know, the amount of work that you do now without even physically meeting people sometimes is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's quite beneficial for me. I'm doing a lot of session work for people all over the world, and people listen to it and they just assume, wow, you had such great mojo together, playing together. Okay, I hate to ruin your illusion, but I never met the guy, so I don't talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, it's got its pluses and minuses for sure. You know, I think, the amount of work that you're able to do, the amount of networking and connections that you're able to build as a result is tremendous.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate a little bit. I mean, it would be nice to sit down and kind of share some studio time with a lot of the people that I work with, but it's just
but if you think of it from a economical aspect, it would be really difficult for me, for example, doing a little guest appearance singing to go over to you guys. I mean, where do you live? Chicago, Iowa? Where was it?
South Dakota.
Okay, wow. I would have loved to do that though, because I'm such a Indian freak, like American natives. So, when I've been on tour, you never visit South Dakota or North Dakota, unfortunately.
Most people don't. Most people don't. There's not a whole lot much here. Sometimes we catch like the transfer stops. If people are hitting Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then say heading down to Omaha, Nebraska, then we're
on a Tuesday.
Midway.
On a Tuesday.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hump day, catch a day off, and
instead of having a day off, it's better to play some fucking bar or something, and they at least get paid or get food and stuff.
Make a couple bucks and sell some shirts or something. It's a beautiful state. I do love this state. It is it is a beautiful state. I live on the southeastern side of the state, which is it's flat. It's kind of whatever. But if you're into the prairie, which the openness of it's beautiful. On the western side of the states, obviously, Mount Rushmore and the little bit more mountainous range. So it's got about as much diversity in the state as any that I've been to. So it's a pretty state. It's got a lot of shit going on.
I would, cool. Like I said, I would have loved to do that. I mean, I was so excited on my first US tour to be able to see that kind of stuff, but you never saw that really. I mean, you didn't play there, so.
Yeah.
Being the nutcase for, Native Americans and all that. So I would love to see that,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you ever do make it out this way, be sure to reach out and I'll give you give you the 10-cent tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. Some of these things are a little bit complicated to set up when we got a 7-hour time gap between you and I. So
Yeah. At least you know it. At least you know it. I remember like a few years ago, I was going to do this interview with a guy in Canada somewhere, and I said, yeah, but that time won't work for me. I can't fucking go up like 3 o'clock in the morning just to sit and talk to you.
yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about 8 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, but there's a time difference. Do you know? You never heard about that.
What? Yeah, it's a pretty substantial one. So this is about the earliest I've ever done a podcast. So I'm still
Okay.
drinking coffee. That usually doesn't happen. So
Okay.
Appreciate you taking the time. You've got a vast history, so obviously we're not going to be able to scratch on everything. But feel free to kind of interject and take the story wherever you feel it needs to go.
Okay.
I think you have a kind of a mystique and a bit of a history to you. So, people have questions and generally on some of the little more intriguing guests, I'll put some stuff out there where I can get some fan questions so people can kind of get some information that they're looking to learn some knowledge on. Obviously there's some things that have happened recently that, here in America, we don't hear about as much. And we'll touch on that a little bit later, but
what are you referring?
things that
Are you just like
Eurovision
general terms, like
yeah, general terms, like the Eurovision thing and whatever. Some of the stuff
okay,
doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
make it over here media wise and stuff.
That is kind of cool.
So
I gotta actually talk about that. We can actually start off doing that.
yeah,
Because
wherever you want to go, man.
yeah, but now it's February. It has started again. It has all this sort of every fucking weekend. It's like this division. You do a lot of artists to perform, for this Eurovision Song Contest in each and every country, and then the winner goes to the grand final, of course, and then you compete with the rest of the countries, the winners from each country, and I got to say that the thing is that I wrote this song together with another guy. It was intended to. The intention was to pitch it to some other artist, basically, and it had nothing to do with the Eurovision Song Contest, and it was sort of a little bit sort of poppy, commercial, or whatever you want to call it. But since I wrote, let's say, 95% of it, or so, and I also recorded the guitars and bass and drums and vocals and wrote the lyrics and so forth. It came out having sort of my mark on it, sort of like
it was still very Snowy Shaw for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, for better or for good, I guess that is sort of your personality that sort of leaks into the other stuff like that. But anyway, also the lyric was kind of spooky in a little way, I tend to have a sort of a forte for kind of shock rock and all that, So anyway, the thing is that we tried to pitch it to someone else, but I left it to the other guy who was more connected, or so I thought, in that world, because I have no connection in that world and I wasn't interested really. But anyway, time went by and I saw no results. So he said, yeah, but why don't you record it yourself? And I started figuring, yeah, but how should I present this? I mean, it's just a one-off thing, a single and all that. And how should I portray the whole thing? I mean, how should I market it? And then I had this, what I think, brilliant idea. I mean, this Eurovision Song Contest bullshit, which I really despise because it's not about music at all. It's it's some sort of ploy, whatever you say. I mean, it's a real scandalous bullshit anyway. So I didn't want to be a part of that. But if you get sort of disqualified, that I consider an honor.
Right. It's the old no press is bad press.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you would be disqualified for indecent exposure or being too brutal or sexual, whatever it might be, So I sort of set up the whole thing. Oh, let's film that and we release it on the same the same day as the grand finale, which was in Switzerland. So it never took place. I didn't apply to be in the Eurovision Song Contest or compete in that, but we just faked the whole fucking thing. Like I had those girls like pretending to suck my dick or something and bite it off like vampires, all bloody underwear and all that shit, So, and then we spread it around just to stir up some shit. Because I mean, how do you promote yourself nowadays? It's better to shock.
Right.
I mean, I'm still in like this shock rock thing. I mean, it's just depending on what kind of, just like Marilyn Manson, he's like the best one to push the right kind of buttons to get some sort of effect and get attention and press and all that. So that's what we did, or I did actually, but most people, they were fooled by that, because I don't look at that, and a lot of people don't watch that. I mean, it's a family thing, like 8 o'clock on a Saturday and stuff. So, and people from Brazil or the US or something, they say, yeah, but this song should have won. It was definitely the best one. Yeah. But the whole thing was a setup, of course, a publicity stunt, basically, Yeah.
Right. Well, and like you mentioned, God, it's such a trick now, like maintaining relevance and even getting anyone to look your way. It becomes increasingly more difficult.
Yeah, I'm talking about this like every fucking day, basically, with different people, how hard it is to break through. Because I mean, if you put up a video, let's say on YouTube, I mean, there is the music video per se is kind of dead, because there are no MTV. I posted like 6 months ago or something. Then it was official MTV, rest in peace. I mean, they shutting down the business. Oh shit! I thought they already did that like 20 years ago. But anyway, there are no other channels, so it's just YouTube. And if you put out something there, then you're competing with about 10 million other people posting something that very day. So it's really, really tough, and you gotta try to think out of the box and create interest or whatever. And sometimes when I'm posting stuff, I find it kind of interesting to test certain things. Like I posted an old video yesterday from a couple of years ago, when I was like recording drums on some album for some band, like we talked about. And my girlfriend, she came in and filmed me. I was like nude, playing drums nude, and that tend to have an effect. Wow, my God, you're nude. Oh, no wonder you have like 3 drumsticks, shit like that. But,
awesome. So interesting scenario. I mean, and it's crazy because, again, here, and I guess I'm guilty now with, I've been kind of staying away from news and fringe information and stuff like that. It's just so overwhelming, especially in America. I don't know how your country is, but it's just like you're bombarded with a bunch of bullshit you don't really care about. It doesn't affect your daily life, so you become more detached from news. And I never heard a peep about it here. So and kind of looking up, just kind of doing a quick overview again on your history, that I seen it pop up, and I was like, crazy that I never even heard about it. So it's it's a great story. And actually, I went and listened to the song, and the song, like I said, it does definitely have a Snowy Shaw feel to it. So if people haven't heard it, they should go check it out, because it's super catchy. And for me, I think it could run right up there with the Ghosts of the world and whatever else. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
so
but
good work on that.
I would say, to me, diversity is the key. I mean, I don't want to do things by old habit. Okay, this is what people expect from me. I mean, it's more stimulating and funnier to stretch out and do different things. And with age, I would say, I mean, I'm more aggressive in my everyday life, or angry, after the situation in the world and all that. But in my music, I want to sort of not focus on that aggression or anything. It's more like I wanted my music to be some sort of escape into fantasy land. Like you listen to music and disappear, some sort of escapism. Instead of yapping about politics and shit like that. I mean, that's just I mean, gets you in a really bad mood, and that is nothing that I want to do really. I mean, so
Yeah, and I think with like you said, you're basically a shock rock artist.
yeah,
I'd say you're a bit more than that, but it's at its core, that's kind of what Snowy is, and the diversity that you've been able to bring into that is pretty amazing. Let's jump way back. So going through, what was life like as a child for Snowy?
uh, yeah. I probably told this story like 1,000 times because and then I get stuck on this one particular band that kind of changed my life. I was really into reading horror comics and stuff when I was a kid, as you can see my poster.
Hmm.
I mean, like Tales from the Crypt,
Yeah.
Werewolf at Night, Dracula, and all that stuff, and also superhero comics. When I was 5, 6 years old, and I would draw, and I really loved that. And I was listening kind of casually to music. Like all the other older guys were listening to, like, Sweet, Nazareth, The Purple,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff, Slade or whatever was around in the 70s. And but it was casual, like I said. But when I discovered this band and the transition from being into horror and superhero comics into discovering Kiss, I mean, that was the
Hmm.
perfect transition, especially with the album Kiss Destroyer, because I went to this sort of diverse store that had like posters and books and comic books and all kinds of shit, but they also sold LPs. and and then my eyes sort of caught when I caught to what is it? What's the word? Yeah, I happened to see this Kiss album, and I was just kept staring at it, all transfixed. Like, wow, it looks like a typical Marvel comic
Right.
thing. Yeah, and so I didn't know what it was. It could have been a calendar or some sort of, I don't know, score music for some sort of theatrical thing. I didn't know what it was, but I was fixated with it, and on the top it said "Kiss Destroyer" in typical Marvel style, design and all that. And I just knew, regardless of what the fuck this is, I just have to have it. And
Hmm.
luckily, it was a fantastic album to the 7-year-old me, because it had, like all these sound effects. If you close your eyes, you could sort of, if you have a vivid imagination, you could, wow, this is like a soundtrack from some sort of horror movie or action movie somehow, like cars crashing, children crying, those kind of spaced out sounds and all that. Because of
Hmm.
Bob Ezrin, who's a fantastic cinematic producer, I would say, just what he had done with Alice Cooper before that and all, and so on. So that kind of changed my life, and from that moment on, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do when I grow up. What I want to be, a comic book figure.
Right, right. They had a tremendous way and such a, oh man, a gift of marketing, Kiss did, and I think especially around that era on connecting with the youth and inspiring the youth to change,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah,
So
but
it's yeah.
it's, I mean, this was in 76, so it's 50 years,
Mhm.
and we're still talking about it. And if let's swap
Yeah.
it around, let's see. It's on my wall, I guess, there, my shrine. It has
There
Kiss
you go.
Destroyer next to Rainbow Rising and a lot of other Judas Priest and Queen and all that. But both from 76, and both have the same artist. What's his name? I forget it now. Fuck yeah, I forgot about this. It's the same painter and all that. So,
Mhm,
and they
mhm.
really captured, I'd say, the whole atmosphere on the album. To me, I cannot really separate what I see there illustrated on the cover from how the music sounds. To me, it sort of blends together.
Right, right, yeah. So then with through that inspiration, when did you, I'm assuming did you start drumming first? Obviously, you're a multi-instrumentalist, but was it drums for you first?
Yeah, but it took me a couple of years, I gotta say. from that moment on, I mean, I started dreaming about, wow, I should start a rock band. But it took me a couple of years until I was 12, 13, something like that, because I never even
Okay.
seen any instruments in real life. And so basically, when I was 13, I kind of more or less forced some of my schoolmates to form a rock band with me. And the opening for that was that previously I was trying to, like, how do you start if you can't play? You never seen an instrument. Yeah, but you can start writing the lyrics, I figured. But then I tried to do that in English, which I couldn't speak. So I was like, ran a gal whack chit chow. Trying to sound it out like that. But so around 1980, a lot of Swedish rock bands popped up. It become a new trend, but they were singing in Swedish. So I was like, wow, that's the opening window I've been waiting for. What if I start out like, singing in Swedish? And then I pretty much forced a couple of classmates to, and I picked them like, okay, but you look good, so you have to be the singer, and you can be the keyboard player, and you play bass and so on. And I just picked drums, which wasn't the smartest thing because of Peter Criss, I guess. I just for some reason picked the drums, but being clueless as I was, but within a year or so, I just realized that, okay, being the band leader or the pushy, a band starter type of guy, to be behind the drums because and try to tell them what to do, because they were not very good at playing, of course, and sounding out like, can you play this? And they couldn't understand what I was doing. So I figured, it might be a smart idea if I pick up a guitar or bass, so I can at least show them my song ideas and all that. So that's how it started, basically. So I mean, I never had any ambition to become a good guitar player or bass player per se, or showy, flashy licks or anything like that. I just wanted to write songs, basically. That's what I wanted to do.
Sure. So obviously, then that kind of manifests kind of a dual question, and I wonder if they kind of simultaneously happened, or what the scoop is. So you become a very accelerated drummer, very unique styling drummer. I mean, it's for early Snowy Shaw drumming, it's like you can tell, who's behind the kit. When you came into that understanding that, okay, this is something I'm actually pretty good at, did you develop the moniker for yourself? Because obviously Snowy Shaw is not your birth name. Did you develop a persona for yourself once you started becoming more proficient in your instrument?
No, not really. I mean, it was my nickname, like Snow White, because I'm blonde and all.
Oh, sure.
Oh, and they call me Santa as well, or Tomten in Swedish. And my birth name was Tommy, so Tomten, yeah, like Toms and all that. Yeah, but so that is also why I choose to go with that when I became sort of professional, to use my nickname, shortened to Snowy then, but from Snow White, So yeah, but I did it. I didn't. I mean, that happened years later. I mean, I had maybe a lot of ideas, but nothing really happened. I was trying to form my own bands during my teenage years, but I was always the determined one, and I had to struggle with a lot of bunch of lazy asses who didn't show up, and we didn't really have a clue, but I had all these grand ideas of concept of bands and all that, and but I felt always like the kind of misunderstood. Looking back on it now, it's like I couldn't find people to match my ambition or drive. And now I'm 57, and I mean, it's now I've come to the conclusion that, okay, when you're young, you kind of assume that everybody sees things the same way you do, and they sort of process things in the same way, which is one of my biggest mistakes in life. I would say that over time I've learned that, okay, I'm quite different from the rest. Yeah, and also that is why I've chosen now to do my one-man army band. I mean, my namesake
Sure.
solo thing, because I think it's very tedious or tiring to try to play with people and they don't understand what. Even though I learned to play the instrument and to show it to them, but you reach the point where, since I'm basically a drummer who learned to play guitar, it's more focused on the rhythmic stuff.
Sure.
It was sorry, it was like 20 years ago or 30 years ago at least. Then I came up with these sort of polyrhythmic riffs and odd time signatures or weird ways, because I always admired pioneers. Everything from
hmm
Arthur Brown, who was the first shock rocker in England in 1968, or Jimi Hendrix, or whatever it might be, Kiss, for instance. I mean, if you come up with something new, you want to, instead of being a copycat, oh, okay, what's the flavor of the month? And people tend to do that, just follow, jump on the bandwagon because, okay, they gain a lot of popularity. Let's do that. I always despise that. I want to find my own path, to
hmm
create something. And that comes with a sort of backlash also, because then you have to fight all the resistance of people who don't understand,
For
including
sure.
band members or getting band members for that, or even record companies and so on. I remember, for instance, when we did Ill Will, we started out doing that. It was me, Angela Rock, Charlie D'Angelo, and a singer called Jonas. And
hmm
that was sort of, I don't know what to call that music, but I wanted to come up with something that was very unique and sort of military like and very stiff and square like that, and super
hmm
tight. So, but the thing is that we recorded the album, and then I was I had to take the initiative to pitch this, and this was in like in 93, 94, to record companies, and they said like, oh, but it doesn't sound anything like King Diamond or Mercyful Fate. Yeah, but that's the whole fucking point. Why would you start a new
Right.
band if it's just a continuation of that? Then,
Exactly.
I
Yep.
mean, this was before Rammstein, before Marilyn Manson, before Meshuggah, obviously, and a lot of those bands, because, I mean, we were too early, I would say. So, I mean, then
hmm
you have to fight the kind of resistance where people don't understand, because basically record companies, I mean, they just want to sell shit. Okay, things go really well for that band. Do that, copy that. And I fucking hate
Yep.
that thing. I want to create my original thing.
Right. Right.
Uh,
So as you go,
mm.
kind of the launch on your career obviously was connecting with King Diamond. Um, so how did that come to be? I know you were young, 20-ish, somewhere in there,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
I actually turned 21 on the same week when I got the job in Los Angeles, which was good
Okay.
because, I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be able to go into any bars or anything, because you have that
hmm
kind of rules or regulations in America. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So how did that come to be?
uh, it's kind of fascinating story, because I discovered, okay, I don't want to go too far back, but I discovered on a metal compilation, if you allow me to go a little bit back here,
Sure.
on
You
a
bet.
US metal, it was Metal Blades compilation with up and coming underground bands. And there were Abattoir and Lizzie Borden and a lot of
hmm
those underground bands. And I really liked that. And then it was one song in particular I really liked, which was called Black Funeral, and it was Merciful
hmm
Fate and Hail Satan and all that, singing in high pitched falsetto and all. And and I just assumed that yeah, all of the bands were American. But it turns out, when I read, I mean, this was pre-internet, so you didn't have any chance of getting any kind of information from the net or about bands or anything like that. So, but about a year later, it was in a Swedish music publication called OK, a big article on Merciful Fate, and I saw, what? He looked like he wore corpse paint, and he had like human bones in a cross as a mic stand, and he was a Satanist calling himself King Diamond and all that. and
Yeah.
it was bizarre, like a even more sick or twisted version of Alice Cooper. And but the biggest surprise of all, because back then all bands were either British, American, or maybe German. But it turns out that they are from Denmark. So wow, our neighborhood country and all. So anyway, so I became really fascinated with that thing and bought the albums and really liked that stuff. And pretty soon, I mean, time went by and Mercyful Fate split up, and they had run out of all the good talent in Denmark, I guess. And Mikkey Dee had moved to Copenhagen, Denmark, to play with another band called Geisha. And when they split up, King took Timmy Hansen and Michael Danner, but they needed a drummer. So Mikkey Dee got the job. He got the offer. And then he also brought along Andy. So I kind of knew that. I mean, I knew Mikkey Dee from the same fucking area in the suburbs.
Okay.
From when I started playing when I was 13, and then he was 18, and he had been playing for 13 years by that time. So I was like really amazed. Back on Kiss, he had like this big chrome pearl kit in a school auditorium, whatever you call it, and was playing it. I was like totally blown away, flabbergasted, like, wow, this is for real, like Peter Criss in Gothenburg or something. Yeah, but so he became my sort of teenage idol in that way, and we've been friends ever since '81. So I mean, when he was in King Diamond, and I remember on a Christmas day in '88, he was back from Los Angeles, and I was studying elsewhere, and we're back home. So we were out partying, and he said, I'm thinking of quitting King Diamond. I think you should take my place there. You would be perfect for that. I thought, since we were kind of drunk, I thought it's just the alcohol doing the talking. So I just ignored it, basically. Besides, I always wanted to do my own band. I never wanted to join any other band. But so I ignored that. But a couple of months later, I heard from Pete Black, who was also had his eyes on me for other bands and so forth. As I had created a pretty good, solid reputation as a drummer. So anyway, he called me from Los Angeles and said, I will be coming back to Sweden here in a couple of days, and I want to meet up with you. Okay, let's do it. So he started going on babbling about blah, blah, blah. They had auditioned over 40 drummers or something like that to replace Mikkey Dee in Los Angeles. And finally got to pop the question that I already figured out beforehand. Okay, would you be interested? Yeah, why not? I mean, this is obviously this is meant to happen. I mean, this is the second chance here I got. And I couldn't find any members for my kind of Manowar Kiss meets band anyway. I figured this is a great opportunity for me to go out in the world, basically, And so he gave me a cassette with 3-4 songs, and I learned them in a day or two, and then I got the job. We went to my rehearsal room, and he called King and said, "You can stop looking. I got the perfect guy for the job." And then like 2 weeks later or something, we flew to Los Angeles, and I joined King. So that's how it happened. Yeah.
Yes, it's like 0 to 100 pretty fast.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, I had been struggling with all the fucking losers and disinterested idiots for such a long time, creating all my bands. And I remember I did the audition. We went out to the Rainbow, and it was completely crazy in Los Angeles at that point, at the height of the fucking hair metal glam thing. And Sunset Strip, it was, I mean, you have to wade your way to go to the places, because there were so many people, and they looked like exactly like, okay, they're going to be on stage in 5 minutes because they have like big hair and all those clothes and all that. I really hated that, but it was cool to see that firsthand, I gotta say. And then like a few days later, we went to shoot Sleepless Night, that video, and and they took the pictures and all that. And I remember sitting at the pool at the hotel, and I got this glossy promo photos that I was supposed to sign to hand out and all that. And it was a band pictures and with all the names underneath. And I was like, wow, yeah. I was like, all the years of struggling, it actually paid off. I made it. I'm sitting here in fucking Los Angeles by the pool, and I joined King Diamond, the coolest band on earth, you know. And I mean, we went on a big world tour, or 3 months headlining in America first, and then like a short break over Christmas, and then we did the same thing in Europe. So wow, it was a, let's say, overnight sensation that took an awful time to get to that point. Of course, yeah.
And then it all happens at once. Yeah. So what was hitting the road? Obviously, touring's not for everybody, and to be what, you know, I don't know what your age gap was between the other guys in the band, but you know, what was the experience like?
I was like the complete fucking rookie, so green. I never been to America. I never been anywhere basically. I mean, I just been focusing my own stuff back home, and I had no experience. I hadn't done any shows in years, so it was a very good learning experience. I just had to open my blue eyes and observe and try to take that in, because King Diamond at that point, they moved like 3 years previously to Los Angeles, and they adapted real well, the lingo and the attitude and all that. So, and I couldn't speak English. I never even, it just crossed my mind. Oops, I never spoke English in my life, you know. So,
oh damn, yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, dude, fucking awesome, yeah!" Doing high five, that kind of shit. And I was like, "Wow." They sort of adopted the whole thing pretty good, I guess, you know. So it was a really good learning experience, I guess. Yeah.
So obviously a lot of talent in that group. And some of those connections I know you still do things with and have some type of rapport with, like Andy and whatnot. What, obviously being as talented as you were as a young man and coming in, that had to help open a lot of mental doors for you as far as a player to be able to finally connect with that kind of talent.
Yeah, I don't know what to say here, but you know, my life changed overnight completely in that way, and in so many ways that it's hard to even put your finger on it or grasp it really. But I, I never even thought about like going on tour, so I was like thrown into the deep end of the pool, and it's like I just
Right.
But it was very cool, and like you said, young talented man and all. So they, I mean, the funny thing is that King is 12 years older than me, for example, but we share the exact same music influences, like Alice Cooper, Uriah Heep, and all that stuff. So we had a lot of stuff to talk about there. And that is probably why they also allowed me to contribute in the songwriting for the I album that we did after all of that. So Andy and I wrote a song and so forth. So, but I mean, the thing is, what I've learned over 1,000 attempts, I would say, like different bands changing positions, and now I'm the bass player, singer in with Dimmu Borgir, for example, or singer with Therion, or you know, trying out different positions. I just figure out over time that, just like I mentioned earlier, that I guess I'm not a team player. I have to do it myself, because I have like the full vision when I write songs. I have all the instruments, and I see pictures basically, and then I have a really hard time sort of compromising that or deviate from my original idea. So that doesn't make me the best sort of partner or you know, songwriting partner, really, you know, because it's my way or the highway. That is pretty much the way it is.
So in you only did the one album.
Yeah.
What led to the departure? That?
The thing is that, I mean, it had been a very long tour, and people had been working hard for a long, long time. Back then, compared to now, when King keeps promising that, okay, now the new album is going to come, and it's been like 18, 19 years by now or something. But back then, there were like this whole routine of new album, tour, new album, tour, that kind of thing. And he was super productive and all. So they had been doing that for years and years, I suppose. So they worked very intensively. But after the Eye, he had reached a point where he wanted to take it to the next level because they were signed to Roadrunner Records, and I think that the deal was then terminated or had to be renewed somehow, and he didn't want to. He wanted to try his wings to sign with a major label. So after that, Pete Black and Hal Patino, the bass player and guitar player, I don't know if they quit or if they were asked to leave. I don't know, but they were out of the band. So me and Andy were put in charge of finding new members, while King and Ola Bang, the manager, would take charge of pitching for a new record deal. And that turned out to take an awful long time. So in the meantime, King was started working on while they were pitching for deals and all that. They were looking. They wrote The Spider's Lullaby, and we were supposed to be on that too. But somehow it seemed that King couldn't get signed. He couldn't find any good record deal. On the flip side, people were interested in Mercyful Fate, like Blade, for example. They like, okay, why don't you bring back Mercyful Fate back together? And you can headline those festivals and so forth. So King called me and said, would you be interested in joining Mercyful Fate? Because we're getting a lot of offers for that. And we are looking into it, considering putting it back together. But we don't want Kim Russ, the original drummer, and you are sort of part of the family, so we want you to be there. Of course, I said, going back to when I was like 14 and discovered Black Funeral. It's like, wow, yeah. Of course, I loved your Mercyful Fate since I was a kid. So, of course, I want to be in the band, I said. But then it took a long time, and King didn't get signed, and Mercyful Fate got back together. But at that point, King had moved back to Denmark, so it was more convenient for them to have a Danish drummer so they can rehearse Copenhagen and all that. So I didn't hear anything. This was, like in fucking 92 or 93 or something. You didn't have any social medias, you didn't have any cell phones or anything, or no internet. So I mean, I didn't hear anything. Then I saw in a magazine, okay, obviously got back together, but picked another drummer. So, yeah, but then when they were mixing the album, because they recorded that in Dallas, Texas, and during the recording, they realized that, okay, this guy won't cut it. It doesn't work. So they called me and said, okay, are you willing to join the band now? Yeah, I said, absolutely. But I want to record the drums, record the drums for the album. Yeah, but we are already running late, and we have no budget left because it took such a long time to record the drums. They have to use their term, to Frankenstein it together like pieces, Yeah. So anyway, I figured, okay, yeah, but you are legends and in my world, like super talented musicians. You can make that opinion. I mean, I have to go with your what you say, I suppose. And I joined the band, and so I flew to Los Angeles, and we were doing videos and all that. And then we went on tour, basically, and opened up for Metallica and played headline other festivals and stuff. So yeah, so getting back to your original question, what happened to King Diamond? Yeah, nothing happened. Then when we were gonna record Time album, after we had been touring all over on the In the Shadows album, we were going to do a new album, and we were back in Dallas, Texas, to record that album. And during the process, while we were there, they were also negotiating deals. And now Metal Blade was interested in signing King Diamond as well. But I had already, okay, I have to go back a little bit. When me and Andy were put in charge of finding new members, I took my friend Charlie D'Angelo, who was actually a guitar player, but I said, this is a chance of a lifetime. So just borrow a fucking bass and say that you're a bassist. And he got the job. Yeah. And we also brought in Mike Weed. So that was the new lineup that's going to be on Spider's Lullaby. But since he didn't have any record deal, it was sort of put on the back burner. And instead, the focus was on Mercyful Fate. So while we were in the studio recording Time, one day, this is so complicated, I guess. When Timmy Hansen quit the band, they wanted to have this bass player from Chicago, from Trouble. But I said, no, fuck that. We're going to bring in Charlie. He's been waiting waiting for this opportunity. And since nothing happened with King Diamond, so I brought him in. Then I had another Swede, my best friend, because I cannot fucking understand Danish, by the way. So it was good to have a good companion there. Anyway, so during the recording of Time, King said one day, I need to talk to the two of you. Here's the situation. We have been offered a record deal with Metal Blade for King Diamond. But since we have now already recorded the new Mercyful Fate album, it was Brian Slagle who said, I mean, there are too many touching bases. I mean, there are too many similarities, I would say. I mean, out of 5 members in a band, you have 3. The only differences are 2 guitar players, like from the different bands. You cannot have the sort of the rhythm section and King being the exact same in both bands.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, I mean, that made sense, of course. And I said, okay, fine. So then we were out of King.
Crazy. Then moving on to a band that I actually connected to as a teenager really quite a bit. And you've already mentioned one of the names for your connection with Mike Weed. But I was a big Candlemass fan. I got attracted to the doom pretty early. So when I discovered Momento Mori, it was like more of what I liked about Candlemass, right? So I loved Messiah's vocals, but the music didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. And with Momento Mori, it was very much that, very much accelerated guitar playing, heavy hitting drums, but still keeping that kind of power doom feel to it. What was that experience like? I mean, that's kind of like an all-star cast in that group.
I got to say that I saw Candlemass the first time when they were open up here in Gothenburg for King Diamond in 1987. And it's kind of a strange thing. At that time, King Diamond, Michael Moon was the guitar player. And he was the guy that I brought into my band when I was 13 years old. So, I mean, everything is connected. Mikkey Dee and blah, blah, blah. And then Mike Weed was stand-in for Lasse, Lars Johansson, who had broke his arm. So Mike Weed was in Candlemass at that point. And I was like really amazed by Candlemass because this heavy, doomy music, and Messiah with a cape, not cape, but a monk suit or whatever, and this big afro, whatever. I mean, it was wonderful, I think. So they were 2 years later when I joined the band. We were out on tour, and on the European tour, Candlemass, we had Candlemass and also Savatage, but Candlemass opened up from the first show and for like 2 months or whatever. And after the first show in Copenhagen, we were partying afterwards. And I said, fuck, I love your band. I mean, you're so fantastic. I mean, we should swap places because, I mean, we kind of did sound check for 2 hours or something, you know, and they just to get everything right. And then it was completely messy in a way. But Candlemass, they had like 2 minutes, put it up there, and just play. And they delivered the goods, so to speak, with. Well, I mean, they were a fantastic band. So I said, I mean, we should swap places. You are so fucking great. So I really love the band. And so during that time when we brought in Mike Weed as the guitar player for King Diamond, and nothing happened, and then we did a Mercyful Fate thing. So he called me one day and said, "Oh, I'm thinking about forming a kind of doom metal band, and I'm looking for a good drummer. Do you know of any? Can you recommend someone?" I thought about it for like 30 seconds. And I can't think of anyone except me. But I said, this doom thing, in my book, there's only one band, and that's Candlemass. So I said, the important thing for a band, I think it's always the front guy, the singer, the vocals. That's what people listen to. And it's a difference of make it or break it, I would say, with every band.
Right.
So I said, who's going to be the singer? I mean, that's the most important spot, I would say. He said, I'm thinking about Messiah, because he had been fired from Candlemass at that point. Wow, that makes a world of difference, I said. So then I'm on. Yeah, that I'm definitely interested. So then we formed a band.
Yeah, crazy, because it's got the, I'm a big purveyor of, and I think you'll kind of attest to it too, like every song has to have a diamond, right? So when you're going through and you're listening to stuff, it has to, when you walk away from that song, it's got to leave you with something, whether it's, a guitar melody or a vocal line or, a good chorus. Sometimes it's that drum intro. Sometimes it's, a break in the song or whatever. And I think with the Memento Mori stuff, that did exactly that. I mean, you guys seem to have pretty good chemistry going in. What was the relationship between the members like for that group? Because there's a lot of strong personalities.
It sure is. It didn't take long for me and Messiah to start butting heads. I mean, he's the most. Socially, I mean, as a friend, he is a fantastic guy. We, to sit down and drink beer and talk shit and all that. That's wonderful. But to work with someone and being friends, it's completely two different things.
Totally different.
Yeah. And you better not mix that up. So I couldn't understand for the world how they could get rid of Messiah. I mean, his charisma, his stage persona and all that. I mean, and that voice. That
one of a kind.
Sort of is. I don't know what to say, but I mean, without that, it would be more ordinary. But it's more operatic and this full voice and all that. So anyway, but it took me. I remember the recording. We didn't rehearse that much, really. I mean, so we went into the studio basically right away. Maybe we rehearsed once or twice, and just the music. I don't know if there was any vocals at that point, but anyway. When we were in the studio, I realized pretty soon that it was hard to collaborate with him in the studio, because he was very determined on doing things his way, and he wouldn't listen. And even though I may have written the lyrics, for example, which I did with some sort of idea for the melody or this and that, so it was a little bit complicated. And like I said, I couldn't understand for the world how they could get rid of him. But after a couple of days in the studio, I fully understood.
Right.
He was like very uncompromising, or didn't want to collaborate or pay attention, really.
Yeah, and it is, it's kind of that unspoken thing when, especially if you haven't been in bands or long-term bands, is understanding that, connecting and collaborating on a vision is incredibly difficult. If you're writing a song, you've got a view of where that whole thing's going to end up going and what that's supposed to be like. And when someone tries to say, no, it should go this way, if those personalities don't have that chemistry, it just, the clash can be heavy.
Yeah, but I've had shitloads of experience from that in multiple bands,
Right.
and it's very, very difficult. I mean, how you work together, and how you perceive music to be done. I mean, when I remember I don't want to slag Messiah. I mean, he's already pissed off with me because I wrote about this in my book and all that.
Yep.
But I mean, truth hurts, I guess. But it's my version of the truth, and maybe he has a different opinion, of course. But
Right.
but anyway, it's really, really difficult. I mean, when I write music, I write the chords and ma la 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 ma, 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 have the vocal lines and all that, how it should be. That's what I
Hmm.
think is the essential thing in music. And then I write the lyrics afterwards to fit into that melody. And and I remember we recorded stuff when I was out with Mercyful Fate, and when we came back to do the second Memento Mori album, and we were home at Mike Weed's place, and we brought over Messiah to do sort of demo vocals, and I showed him my songs, and okay, and I wanted him to sing the way I've written the songs, and he told me, like, don't tell me how to sing, I don't tell you how to play the drums. Yeah, but
Mm.
you start singing in the intro. Here is the verse, and yeah, but he wanted to interpret it any way he wanted to, really,
Sure.
and maybe that works for some people, but that's not how it works for me, I would say, and that is I write based on the vocal melody. It depends on what kind of
Hmm.
music it is. I mean, death metal might be different, or black metal or something, but let's say classic rock music is
Right.
the most important thing is the vocal. I mean, I don't think John Bon Jovi, for example, it's like, okay, you come up with some vocals on top of those riffs. I mean, it's the the vocal lines that dictate
Exactly.
how
Yeah.
you play. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
So
So yeah, it was difficult. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna throw in a couple. I had some fan submitted questions again, so I'm gonna throw in
Okay.
a couple little things, and some of the stuff we've kind of touched on, so we can kind of breeze by them a little bit.
Mm.
But um, some of these usernames are so wonderful. Mover to Lose It Too is his name. Said, "What's the difference between playing in King Diamond versus Merciful Fate? Obviously, you guys had the same kind of rhythm section, but guitar wise there's different talent in each one of those bands. I mean, is there a different philosophy with working with those two bands, or was it kind of an
Um,
extension of the same thing?
I, I don't know if I would be able to pinpoint exactly what the difference is, but it's certainly I'm certain that there are differences. Um, I don't know if I can explain that really. I mean, how it worked really. Mm. It's funny. I never thought about that really.
Yeah, yeah, well, it seemed like the way it progressed was it was almost like Merciful Fate became an extension of your position in King Diamond.
Yeah, it was.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so I could see
Uh,
that.
yeah. I don't know what to say. I mean, in King Diamond, it's more like there's no doubt about it. It's his namesake band, and he's
Hmm.
I wouldn't call it a dictator, but he is the one who pulling the strings, calling the shots, and all that. Whereas Andy is like his sidekick. And they are
Hmm.
tied together for 40 years this year. Yeah. And
Wow, so crazy.
but in Merciful Fate, it was a little bit different, sort of the hierarchy, or is it Hank's band or is it King's, and so forth.
Sure.
So it worked a little bit differently, I would say. And uh, yeah, I remember it being. I thought it was a little bit difficult to in the rehearsal room when we sort of practiced to go on tour, because they came from a different school. They grew up together in Copenhagen and kind of looked at each other. Sometimes it wasn't. It didn't really make sense to me. The kind of music, it should be slowed down there a little bit, and then it's like 10 hits on that or something. But it's in musical terms, it's more something that they agreed upon or something. So I thought it was a little bit difficult, I would say. But of course, I'm trying to be flexible and just learn. But I guess they grew up and wanted to be, wow, we want to be impressive. We want to be just as technical as Rush, but also mixed with Iron Maiden or something. But and then created that unique.
It seemed like there was a little, like you mentioned, a little bit more rooted chemistry probably.
Yeah,
with
I think
Mercyful Fate guys.
Yeah.
So one other question, and we kind of touched on this, and this is going to lead me into some other things. So Arise Raw posted, was it challenging to replace Mikkey Dee? And what is your relationship? How has it evolved with him throughout the years? Obviously, he was a massive influence for you early on, and then as you become friends, and then taking his place, and then now through today, where he's written the foreword for your book, and let's kind of touch on that relationship.
Yeah, but we've always been on very good terms. But sometimes we're butting heads because I'm headstrong too, and he doesn't appreciate it, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but not a lot of people. They pretty much pat him on the back or kiss his ass or something. But I don't necessarily do.
Sure.
No, but we have a perfect good relationship since forever. And. No, it's always been very good. I thank my lucky star that I ran into him rehearsing in my school when I was just a very young green guy, and let's say inexperienced, had no clue at all. And he was a role model. He also showed me that just because you're a drummer, you don't have to be Charlie Watts in the background. Because I went to see that pop rock band that they had, and he was sort of the star in the band with his long drum solos and all that. I couldn't care less about the rest of the other guys, basically, because he always had I wouldn't say big ego, but he knew his worth, and and he also, I think we have a lot, especially here in Gothenburg, to thank him for, because he opened doors to the world in such a way. Because first of all, he went to Denmark by that time because he figured nothing happens here, and that opens up doors to the connection with Mercyful Fate and so forth. And he's very extremely business minded and smart, and he makes sure. A lot of people will say, "Oh, it's incredible how much luck you've had." It's not about luck. It's about creating those situations where you happen to be at the right place at the right time, and that is no coincidence. So he's very.
I agree.
Yeah, he's very smart and extremely business minded. So I have,
and I'd say you guys kind of mirror each other. You guys kind of mirror each other in that. You guys kind of mirror each other in that aspect. Again,
but
that statement.
I probably learned. Since he was such a influence on me as a very young kid, I took to him, I guess, and learned from him. Because if you want something done, don't sit around. You have to believe in yourself and go get it. And he's like a doer in that sense. Even though we're very different. I don't. He plays drums and doing a lot of business and all that. I want to create music, so I learned to play more instruments and sing and all that. So we are very different there, and our ambitions are very different too. I just want to be creative, basically. I've stopped touring because I'm fed up with that after 35 years, and he can't sit still. If he's not out with Scorpions, then he's doing Mikkey Dee and Friends, playing Motorhead songs, or he does something else. He's like, I wouldn't say nervous or ADHD, but he's like, he can't sit still, basically.
Sure.
Whereas I don't want to do any shows. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, with the way times have changed, man, touring's not it's not the end all. So touching on the fact, on your book, big part of your modern accomplishments. Writing a book to the scope that you did is no joke. I'm assuming it was a all-encompassing long stretch to get that book done. To ask you to just talk about your book is probably a little bold and robust to just do that, but kind of talk about what made you decide to write a book in the first place.
The thing is, I had like a very rough, I would say the year 2007 was a extremely hectic year in a lot of ways and aspects. I joined Therion as the singer, and on the side of that, we recorded the album and so forth. And on the flip side of that, they wanted me to be in charge of the whole presentation, like arrange photo shoots and stage clothes and design all the stage props and be in charge of that. Yeah. So I did that, and while I was doing that, I get a knock on my door. I lived in this evicted house. No, is that the word? No, whatever you call it. They're going to tear it down anyway. So
like a condemned.
I would, I would be out on tour. So I was like out on tour doing that, and I split up with my girlfriend. She moved to study at MIT to become a business manager, or whatever the fuck it was, and it was really rough and complicated in a lot of ways. But anyway, getting to the point. Long story short, we were out touring for a full year, basically, with Therion all over the world, and I think the last show was on the 22nd, the night of the 22nd in Paris, and I got back home, and it had been so stressful. I didn't have any place to live, and and everything was really complicated. So, and yeah, you need to land if you've been out, surrounded by people 24/7. You know, being in new cities, new countries every day. I mean, it does something with your brain. It fucks things up, I would say. So I really needed to land, and I did that. I turned down. I was supposed to go on another 3-month tour with Death Stars, open up for Tool or Korn. It was, in Europe. But I can't do that. I need to fix my fucking life, have a place to live, and to land after being out for a year. So a few months went by, and then I turned 40. Yeah, and when I reached 40, I mean, it's a big thing, I would say. To me, it felt like, my God, here I'm back home in Gothenburg. I'm the biggest loser ever. I haven't accomplished anything. I saw everything pitch black, dark, and I couldn't see anything positive at all. I mean, it's rainy and cold and pissing down here. So I was like super fucking negative. And I took these long walks just to get my head straight, I guess, and figure out my stuff. You know, you kind of reach a crossroads. I don't know if it was like that for you, but when you turn 40, you're not like, okay, I'm a middle-aged man now, and I've been
I definitely had that. I had it when I turned 50. So when I turned 50, like midlife crisis shit it's real. And it's so hard to explain, and it's so hard to just kind of wrap up an emotional, like, this is, I felt terrible. Well, but it's like, I think when you get to that point where you're, like you said, what have I accomplished? What am I good for? And it's,
what have I done with my life?
So I feel you.
Yeah, but so I was like, all these ruminations. I mean, just like being a big. I mean, all the thoughts were swirling around my head. I couldn't get it straight, basically. So should I go to a shrink and try to figure this out, or spend a lot of time there, or should I take the jump from the bridge or end it all, because I was like so depressed, basically.
Wow.
But then I got this idea that some sort of divine intervention, whatever you call it, like, wow, I wanted to put things black on white, like to write it down, all my thoughts. Then I would be able to take a step back and be look at them objectively. So wow, that's what I need to do. So I went home and I opened my laptop and started writing about all the unfinished business, all kinds of childhood memories or whatever the fuck it was, everything that bothered me. And it was like a complete roller coaster. And I kept doing that without stopping for weeks.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and I remember it was November, just like it is now, actually. And I looked out the window one day. Everything was so dark. I thought, but it was in my head, basically. So, wow, the sun is shining, and the thing, what's the word? That I could actually see the sun shining. I saw that as a I'm on a road to recovery. I could actually see some positivity again. Like
Sure.
uh,
Yeah.
there's a life after this. And so I started figuring, okay, actually, my method, my homemade therapy here of writing it down, so I can read it and look at it from a distance, it actually works. And then I put it aside. Then I figured, okay, I healed myself. But I promised
Hmm.
myself to keep doing that. Just because I never kept a diary or journal or anything like that in my life. But whenever I have some trouble or thinking about stuff intensively, I should put it down in text. And I kept doing that. And after a while, it sort of morphed into a book. I thought to myself, I mean, what if I would make this into a book? There's probably a lot of other people who would want to read about this because
Hmm.
my life's been kind of adventures. I mean, there are not a lot of people who dare to take the jump, so to speak, and actually go for it. No what ifs, no security nets, nothing. I mean, oh, this is what I want to do with my life, and
Right.
completely devoted to it. And so I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs in the roller coaster. So yeah, but after that, I just kept writing whenever I felt like it, and so it took me 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's got to take just a lot, and to be able to. Well, two things with it is to stick
Mm,
with it for that long in writing
yeah,
is pretty amazing. But then to get to a point where to share it is a whole nother story.
yeah, yeah.
To where you're comfortable enough to share. Because I'm assuming it's not all roses in your book.
No,
You know what I mean?
definitely not. I mean, I I told myself initially when I started, okay, if I'm going to make this into a book, it won't be the same old story. Like, okay, coming from a broken family, then getting success, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That bullshit. I want to tell the
Mhm.
story the way it is, from my point of view, of course. All the struggles, all the insecurities, or whatever. I mean, and if you're willing to just go for it like I did, uh, I mean, it's gambling, of course. I mean, there is nothing that says it's going to work out.
Mhm.
I've I've also realized that, I mean, you grow up and then you have like all these illusions or fantasies of what it's like to be a musician, be out toured, and be a rock star and all that stuff. But I mean, it's a lot of bucket list things, I would say. And
Right.
with Merciful Fate, for example, uh, somehow I just figured I didn't know. I mean, I learned to play after like I said earlier, you had no clue really. I mean, and one of the things you think like, wow, being out on tour and partying and sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Some people are really attracted to that. I was like more into the music and the presentation of the band and all that. But anyway, I was playing, we were headlining a Roskilde festival in Denmark in '94. And I think there was like 70,000 people there. And back there, then in '94, they weren't that common with those big festivals. And I was the drummer in this legendary, cool black metal band, Merciful Fate. People would probably cut off their left leg to be in my position or do whatever to be in my position.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I thought I had reached the pinnacle or something. This is the time I've been waiting for. where I'm going to be euphoric, sort of in touch with God or something like that. This is what I've been working on or towards my whole life. But once I got off stage and I sort of had a beer and washed some sweat off my face and stuff, and it's like, okay, where is that euphoric feeling that I was kind of expecting that I would be in contact with God? No, it wasn't there. It was replaced with sort of an emptiness in my stomach. I didn't get that feeling, and I tried to just brush it off as like, oh, okay, I didn't sleep well enough, or I haven't eaten properly, or whatever. But the thing is that I reached that point only to realize, just like chasing rainbows, there's going to be a treasure coffin at the end of the rainbow. But once you get there, you realize, there's nothing there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So life is not about you set up goals, but the journey, that's the trick. I mean, that's what you should go for, and live in the present and live in the now. So instead of just focusing on a goal, once you reach there was nothing there. Then you reach, just like you're collecting stuff. I mean, wow, I want to have a complete collection of the albums. And once you get that last missing piece, then it's over. The chase. So the chase is better than the catch, actually.
Right. And it is interesting the way you stated that too. But it's things that you don't realize until you're older. That
Exactly.
The journey is what's important. It's the memories that build to those things. There isn't an end game necessarily, but it's the road that you take. And like you say, I think for you therapeutically, being able to write the book helps you realize that it's the journey.
Yeah, because you need, in order to write the way I did, I need to look inward. I need to put all those uncomfortable thoughts and memories out there what's the word? I don't speak English very often nowadays. Anyway, you just need to process it the whole for yourself, and to soul search and go dig down deep.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, I would say, and a lot of people, maybe they don't do that, but in order to write a book, it's necessary that you have to do that kind of soul search and reflect on those things. And actually, you become wiser or smarter or whatever when you realize that, and you can see certain patterns. Like, okay, like I realized at the end of each, or not each, but pretty much very, very many of them, at least, chapters, it's like, okay, then I had enough with them. I said, okay, go fuck yourself, I quit. That's the end of the chapter. So I can see a certain pattern that I've been in bands, and I hang in there as long as I can, but then I cannot put up with it anymore. Why am I doing? What am I doing here? Fuck you! I quit. And that I've done so many times. And when you can see that pattern, maybe you can change that. Okay, and realize that what's the point of doing that any more times? Just like I've turned down a lot of big bands that I got offers from, even Malmsteen back in the 90s, and Saxon or Manowar, and all kinds of bands, Evergrey or whatever. But people say, how can you turn down Saxon? Yeah, I was tempted because it's a legendary band that I like and all that. But okay, I can give it a year, then I'm going to be fed up. Because that's also the reason why I got fed up with Mercyful Fate, because I wasn't allowed to contribute. For me, it has always been the creative process to contribute, and I have such a big urge to have an outlet for that. And let's say if I would join Saxon, I would say, hey, Biff, we're going to make a new album. Yeah, I have a couple of songs that I wrote. What? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We hired you as a timekeeper. We write the songs. We already decided on that when you were in kindergarten. so I mean, yeah, because that's not what they want out of a drummer. For the most time, Yeah.
Right.
So
one
why
thing,
should I join that band? Just another stripe on my shoulder or something. Look,
sure,
I
sure.
can brag about that. Formerly of blah 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 blah. Yeah, but so I decided if I do my own solo thing, I can never quit that. Not
Right.
before I die, at
So,
least.
one
Mm,
question I have on
mm,
is when you're going through and you're kind of spilling your guts to yourself on on your laptop is one thing.
yeah.
Deciding, okay, this might start a fire, but I'm going to put it in the book anyways. Now, like you mentioned earlier, you don't want to talk shit on this person, whatever, but that might
Yeah.
not necessarily be the justification on including it in your book. Are there moments in there that you questioned whether you should put them in there or not?
They were, of course. I was kind of trying to tap dance there, but at the same time, I mean, if I read a book, autobiography by some artist, I want to read the gritty truths, like a
Yeah.
little bit of scandals and shit, of course, or their fights and all that. I mean, just like you said, I mean, not everything is just roses,
Right.
I mean, not perfect. So of course you want to leave the dirt in, because that's what I would have liked to read about. So I mean, I kind of follow that example for myself. And I mean, if Messiah is pissed off at me or other people, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
I didn't
definite,
write. I didn't write this book to make friends, really,
sure.
or maintain friendship. I mean, I don't give a shit, because I mean, I consider this being the truth from my
Hmm.
perspective.
Hmm.
He probably have a different idea, of course, uh, but I don't care.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I had briefly touched with you on this. I want to take and get a copy um, of your
Mm.
book that I can give away on
Yeah.
to one of the listeners on the show here.
Yeah.
So I am going to be reaching out to Snowy here to get a signed copy of his new book, which actually is when did it come out? It's not so crispy new anymore. What year did that come out?
Sorry, what?
What year did the book? Well, when was it released?
Yeah, I released it. I published it in 2020. Yeah,
Okay, so we got a few
just
years under. So
during the pandemic, I would say. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I want to get that into a fan's hands here. So in order to get registered for that, I'll put it up on the screen here too. You'll need to email me, which
Yeah.
is emailthegrowl@gmail.com. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile a list of names and I'm going to have Snowy pick a winner. So that way it is as
Super.
unbiased as possible. So if you are interested in checking out that book, make sure you email me at emailthegrowl@gmail.com. And looking forward to getting a copy of that into a listener's hands here. I think it's something that I think, and I've said, it's the reason I do this show to begin with. I think everyone's got a story to tell. And it's
Absolutely.
just your willingness to share that story. And so many people are worried about hurt feelings or worried about exposing themselves or whatever. So, to be able to share your life in such a thorough manner is pretty impressive. And man, it's something that I think everyone should check out. I think everyone should spend some time with this book. So,
Yeah, but I gotta say that I've got a lot of positive, extremely positive reviews, and people say a lot of people say it's the best autobiography they ever read, because I'm spilling the beans, so to speak,
right.
and also about the business and how fucked up it is. I mean,
Mm,
it's a mirage, it's a fucking illusion, a vision, and a lot of people bought into that, but that is not the truth. I mean, it's hard work, and and I was willing to devote my life to that, but
hmm.
um, it certainly has its pitfalls, I would say, and I think it's necessary that people also see that side of it, because it's not all rosary and like champagne and limos and strippers and shit. I mean, that is
Right.
sort of the Hollywood fantasy, and that's what you see produced in Hollywood movies, if they were called rock star or whatever. They're selling that sort of illusion, but I mean, there is so much more, and depending on what it is that you want. And I've figured out over time, I mean, when I'm 57 now. And now I realize that I just want to be home. I just want to create my own music. That's it. And
Right.
put it out there. And I'm not trying to please others. I'm doing exactly what I like. And if other people like it too, wow, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For your circumstance, I think it's prime time for you to do that, right? Because you've built this massive resume and following fan base that you can be true to what your vision is. I think that was your goal, probably the vast majority of your musical career, and now you're there. And
yeah, but it's kind of funny. I remember hearing an interview with David Bowie, and he said
Mhm.
aging is a very exciting thing, or whatever. It means that you end up where you were supposed to be the whole time, even if
Sure.
you wayed astray or deviated from that, or thought you were something else, but you kind of come back to where you belong, where you were meant to be, sort of, and
Right.
land yourself. And I've been through so much shit, like divorces for going on for 5 years, and shit for the last 5 years, and my mother died, and being dementia, and all that stuff. And now I'm in a place where I kind of accept who I am and where I am in life, and I don't think, oh my God, I'm growing old. Fuck that shit. I'm embracing the day. And me and my girlfriend, we tattooed on our hands here. What does it say? Here and now. Yeah,
There you
here and
go.
now. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's it. I mean, because in this very present moment, that's all we have. Uh,
Exactly.
I mean, there's no guarantee for even tomorrow, So
Mhm.
try to live in the present, just like you were doing when you were 7 years old. You went out. Okay, this was no mobile phones or anything like that. You took your little bike and you met some guys. Hey, what are you doing? We're climbing trees. Oh, good. I tag along, and you were living in that moment, and you had no expectations, and life turned out to be magical or adventurous because you didn't have so much expectations for the future on how it's going to turn out. And
Mhm.
for me, having realized so many of my childhood or teenage sort of goals and fantasies and all that, just to come to the conclusion that ah, it wasn't that much. It wasn't really what I was looking for, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
yeah, it's kind of sound philosophical and so forth, but you need to land in yourself and be comfortable in your own skin, and to realize who you are. And I've tried. I mean, I thought, okay, I'm in the wrong band. I mean, I don't have enough input here or enough say in this and that. Yeah, but now I'm here and I'm trying all these different bands and different situations, and I just came to the conclusion that I must do it all myself, just like I did when I was 12, 13. I like kind of forced my classmates to do that.
Right.
Notre
Right.
Dame, Notre Dame is another band that I had, that I started after Ill Will, where we couldn't get signed or anything because we were too much ahead of our time. And I
Mhm.
started that band. I was like, really, was what should I say? I was like, the band of my fantasy, which is sort of an extension of Kiss, I would say, or
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Uh, uh, I mean, it was my solo thing. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, I did it all, but I took some friends in the pictures and pretended that it was a band, and I named them Jean-Pierre Desade, they're French, and all that. And an ex-girlfriend, oh, she can be Vampirella, like the fucking
Right.
comic book from the 70s. Wow, I want her. So she kind of portrayed that image and all that. So this was just a studio project, and that's the way I like to work. So I just lied my head off, basically. When I got signed to this French label, they got like so excited when they heard the first mini CD that I put out, and they wanted to sign me right away. And I said, "Oh, I need to talk to you. There's just one little thing before I sign the contract here, a worldwide contract for them, distribution and all. There is no band. It's just me." And they said, "My God, you're even more crazy than I thought." They said, "Yeah, but that makes it even cooler because
Right.
it's a pretend. band, like a fictive, thing.
Yeah. One thing that I have to touch on, obviously, with my show, I deal with a lot of extreme metal,
Yeah,
and I mean, being old enough now, I was into a lot of the stuff, from Memento Mori to King Diamond to stuff that you were doing earlier in your
yeah,
career. But I went down a pretty extreme road when I was probably 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and I got into death metal extremely deep, and I've kind of stayed trenched in there. And uh, then I hear all of a sudden that Snowy Shaw is in Dimmu Borgir, and I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" How is like talk about in my head at that time, I was like, "This is perfect." The voice, the
mm,
charisma, like a perfect fit. And then I thought about it, and I was like, "It's not a perfect fit," and obviously it wasn't. The album is fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite Dimmu records. Love me or hate me for that or not, but it is without a doubt probably it is my favorite Dimmu, and I'll go into deeper as to why it is. But um, from it, so many people that I know, the question about that era is like this big mystique that no one really knows what the fuck happened and
yeah,
how it happened so quick and then it was over. Can
yeah.
you kind of dive into a little bit how you got connected with the guys in Demu, and then the recording process, and then how the train came off the tracks?
Uh, I write. I mean, I'm writing about this. I write about this in my book. I mean, you can read it
Okay.
all about that. I mean, in great detail, but I can give you a little hint here. So, the thing is that I had been out with Therian for that whole year and stuff, and then we worked with another band, a glam band that I sort of invested in, a glam rock band or whatever, and I kind of ran out of money. So I get a phone call from some guy. Okay, we had to cancel. They were like a okay, I'm going too far back, I suppose, but the thing is. Uh, I joined this covers band because the drummer had hurt his knee or broke his leg or whatever. So I joined in and did that. I usually try to stay away from that scene, but they were really good guys, competent musicians. Everything was very convenient, well paid, and all that. Yeah, and so I continued with that band until the drummer was cured himself or was well. So, and then they fired a bass player so I could play bass with them instead because they wanted me to be in the band. So
Hmm.
I was in that covers band playing bass and sang with you in Highway to Hell, yeah, Heavens on Fire, and rock songs like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were out at the ski resort in Norway, uh, and 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 I was playing with that band, and I read on Blabbermouth. I remember seeing that Shagrath and Selenos were talking about being in the studio, working on the new album, and they mentioned a new keyboard player, and they had a new drummer, but they didn't mention any bass player. So I was there in some fucking cabin in snowy Norway, and playing with this covers band. And I figured, what the fuck, damn it, I don't have a bass player. So I contacted Selenos. I know the guys from before. I've helped them record videos and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, and I said, hey, I just saw that you're making a new album, and from what I can tell, you don't have a bass player. I want to play with you. I'm in Norway playing and stuff. So they got back to me after a couple of days. Yeah, that's perfect. Gothenburg, Oslo, it's close by, like 3 hours or something. So I mean, it's perfect. How come we never thought about that? Because they thought of me as a drummer, and
Hmm.
they didn't think about that. So anyway, yeah, we talked and all that, and they were rehearsing. So and for the new songs and all that. So uh, I just took the bus and my bass, and I went up there, and I never heard the songs, but I just jumped into the rehearsal and tagged along. And they said, "Wow, it never sounded so tight, and you never even heard the songs before." So because I picked that up pretty quickly, So yeah, but it was a perfect fit, I gotta say, and everything felt fantastic. I told my then girlfriend or my ex-wife that wow, this is a modern day Kiss. The whole imagery, the symphonic elements in black metal, and the mystique and all that, and I fucking love it. I mean, this is the band I'm gonna remain in this band until the day I die. Then I quit 7 months later because I couldn't put up with it anymore, because everything was spot on perfect while we were recording the album, while we were doing that stuff in the studio. Then came their German female manager, and she had like a serious Sharon Osbourne complex, but and she wanted to dictate everything, but she was like incompetent, I would say. I mean, to run the operation, the business. I mean, she did really bad calls that made no sense at all. You could save money doing it like that. I mean, she was like, yeah. So I couldn't really put up with that, and I tried to stay calm and behave.
Sure.
But and then she did this kind of, I don't know the English word for that, but kind of adult bullying when we were in Berlin, for example, shooting 2 videos, and she came to Shagrat and Stian, Shagrat and Silenos, like, here's 1 Coke for you, 1 Coke for you, but not for you. And I was the 3rd guy then. So it's like, what kind of bullshit is that? Just like I would join, let's say, Hells Angels or a bike club, and I need to be a prospect, and I need to earn my. And I said, I guess I've been in the business for quite a while, and I'm an artist in my own right. I don't need to be your fucking lapdog here or something. I couldn't put up with that.
Oh,
so
totally understandable.
But so, and I tried. I never experienced that kind of thing in my life, when you've been bullied or sort of excluded, that kind of behavior. I thought, I must imagine that this can't happen. But the more I thought about it, it actually is. I mean, she's using these kind of techniques and whatever methods to make you, to belittle you and make you feel insecure and all that. And I was like, why? I haven't signed up for that, and I certainly don't deserve to be treated like that. I'm just trying to do my best here to make everything as perfect and as good as possible. That was my only goal. So I couldn't put up with that. So I talked to the Dimmu guys, and I tried to talk to them. I wrote to them, and they never responded, and so on. So it's like, okay, I see no other solution here than I fucking leave. I can't put up with this. Otherwise, I'm going to be a nervous wreck or die or something. So that's why I left.
Right. Yeah. So on that album is one of my favorite covers ever recorded in history, with Perfect Strangers. And the elements that fall into that song, vocally and musically, are it's so unique. It's great. The original version's great, but the version you guys put out is tremendous. When you guys were in the studio, did you kind of feel the magic on things? Or, it's one of those things where obviously that album means a lot to me. When you're recording an album, and you could take this for any album that you've been on, when you're in the studio, do you ever have that feeling like this? Yeah,
but I gotta say, it was a special moment when we did that, because we did 2 covers. I think it was the Perfect Strangers one and something else, I don't remember. And that was kind of came in very late, because I mean, we had already recorded the album. I did the bass, for example, with the guitars and all that, and drums in Oslo, in Norway, and then we did the vocals in Uppsala, I think, in Sweden. Anyway, but there was, we never rehearsed the song or anything like that. I wasn't sure who's going to sing what, but they picked that song, and Shagrat is more of a black metal vocalist, and you need someone to sing a little bit more, I guess. So that fell to me, and that was the last song we did. And I remember we were sitting drinking whiskey or something like that in 2 separate booths next to each other, and he recorded that, and it was just like a 1 take or 2 takes or something. We just went for it, and it just felt very good, I gotta say.
Yeah, it sounds magical to me. I mean, it sounds like it just kind of fired on all the
Yeah,
cylinders it should have been.
yeah, but I felt great. I remember, I mean, it was a good wrap up from the whole recording
Yeah.
because that's the last thing we did as well. So maybe that's what you can hear sort of subconsciously, like, wow, we're
Mhm.
done. It's sort of like a free spirit, and sort of, I don't know. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, but
right.
it felt very good, I gotta say. Interestingly, is that I've been doing a lot of stuff, including your band.
Mhm.
All these guest star appearances, session work, one-off, collaborations or whatever, and it's so scattered all over. So I figured that I have a hard time keeping track of it, and my
Sure.
followers and fans, to them, it's completely impossible because not always do they tag you in that, so people cannot
Mhm.
find that. So I figured
Mhm.
it would be a good idea to collect it all under the same roof, so to speak, on a album, on a CD or something. So I started working on that, and I call it Shawsome instead of Awesome,
There you go.
for the I, I don't know, the Snow Show collection or whatever. So it's going to be a lot of those different songs, including your band, and also The Perfect Stranger. So I spoke to Nuclear Blast, and I got the permission to use it and all that. So yeah, so that's cool. It's going to be a lot of stuff. It's not only when I'm playing drums with stuff, but if I sing first and foremost, and playing bass or guitar and drums and all that. But
Mhm.
so and so far I have like volume one that I'm going to sort of master, so to get all the levels to match and all that. But so it's going to be cool to put out that Perfect Strangers song and a lot of other songs that people are not aware of. So they can. It's sort
Absolutely.
of, I look at it as, is it going to sell? I don't know. Nothing sells anymore, but this is my this is my legacy, so to speak. Okay, you've been
Yeah,
kind of busy.
and
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
really it's when you mentioned it to me
mm,
earlier, it is like I know you did some similar stuff live where you're kind of doing little snippets through your career, but this
yeah,
is kind of different because it's people who are like our band, for example, is selecting you because of what you do as opposed to you doing what you do. So,
yeah.
having all these outside perspectives of what bands feel you fit into and how you contribute to those is going to be extremely interesting. And I'm excited to check it out because I know a lot of those projects I haven't heard and I want to.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, it's kind of funny. Dino Jelisek, the singer. He was
I don't.
a fantastic singer. He was like, I would say, a fake lead singer. He was with Whitesnake, and he's been with tons of bands. A guy from
Okay.
Croatia.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, I mean, I posted a picture of us, and I said the guy behind me is the greatest rock singer in a modern world, and and one guy, he was commenting, saying something like, "Wow, I'm so proud. I have both of you on my album," and I had to write, "What album is that?" And he wrote what it was, and I had no recollection of even doing that. So,
Oh
so,
man. Yeah.
yeah, I had to check it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, that's me singing. Oh, I hear that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I
So
mean,
that.
it's so scattered all over the world,
Mhm.
basically, and that is why I wanted to collect it all under the same umbrella or top roof. Yeah, but it's
When
a pretty cool idea, I would say. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when do you foresee this starting to see the light of day?
Yeah, I don't know. During spring, sometime.
Yeah.
I'm just missing a few songs that I can get hold of the people, or no, actually the people, they have said I have the permission to use it, but the leader, he didn't even have the CD himself, so I have to go out and buy it so I can rip it off the fucking CD. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned this project obviously you have upcoming. Anything else? I would assume at this point in your career it is a sole focus on solo work. You mentioned not
And yeah, for the most part, I mean, that's what I want to do, but I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, that is also why I'm doing this Shawsome, this collection, because in later years, even though I've come to the conclusion that bands, it's not my thing really. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I want to work on my own and do it all. But then you have some sort of fallback, like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to collaborate with someone? It can be duos. So I've done like 3 or 4 different duos. One thing that a guy from the Crown, the Swedish death metal
Mm-hmm.
band. I
Mm-hmm.
ran into a bass player. I did their photos and stuff for some album, and so we know each other. And sort of, and I asked him, "What do you do nowadays?" "Ah, I quit the band and blah blah blah. I started to be a lawyer or whatever." "You don't play any music?" "I'm doing sort of punk rock on acoustic guitar." "Oh, cool." And he sent me some stuff, and yeah, hey, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, but add something if you want. I mean, if you want to put vocals or whatever. Yeah. Do you have any lyrics? No. Okay. No melodies, no lyrics, no nothing like that. Yeah, but I call it Street Jeans, that song. Okay, so I wrote lyrics based on that and came up with the vocals, and then I played some guitar solo on top of it and all. So we did a mini album, like 5 songs or something with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I came to the same conclusion. Okay, I am the most committed guy who be in charge of everything, mixing and doing the album covers and promoting it and this and that. So we're pretty much done with that. Okay, this didn't fly. It was
Mm-hmm.
cool for a nice collaboration for a little while, but then I drew something else. Yeah, okay, that might be nice to do. But I always reach the same conclusion. What's the point? I mean, it's not going to earn me any money, and
Right.
we're not going to get any big tours. And I am the devoted guy who pretty much take over and run the operation. So what do I need you for? So
Sure.
that is kind of the same thing that I'm coming back to. So I don't.
So
I like
if
to help out people who are, wow, yeah, one guy, he very good guy. He got fired from his band. He was the songwriter and the singer, and he was like really depressed and started drinking. I said, "Yeah, but hey, listen, if you need help, I can help you out, play drums or whatever." Yeah. So that turned out to be a Wolf and Man, a project, and we did a video and a single for that. So that's also going to be included because I cannot see any continuation for that really. I mean, it's just
Sure.
too much job or too much work really. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Sure.
so collect it all. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I know, like with your solo stuff, the White is the New Black is a if people haven't heard it, they definitely need to check it out. I think it was a very eye-opening, at least in the States, for you here, for people really
Mhm.
getting turned on to your solo work. Um, do you have like a full album in the works for new stuff? Or are you sitting with solo material?
The thing is, like I mentioned, I've been going through a really, really rough patch that lasted for like 5 years or something. So I also struggled or wrestled with motivation because I mean, how the whole industry is nowadays. I have like
Mhm.
probably like 2,000 songs or something that I've been writing.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that I wanted to do. But okay, if I'm gonna lock myself in for a year to write and record and mix and and do it all on my own label, and I'm investing the money for it and all that, and then you release it into thin air. I mean, the album is an obsolete format in itself. Of course, there are
Yeah.
still people who collect albums, but nowadays I'm putting out singles, like separate songs,
Sure.
because that's about what people can take. And since it's dominated the whole business with streamed music on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever it is, I don't know if people have the attention span. It was like this when I was growing up. Now it's down to that,
Yeah.
and
Fraction. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's a whole different world. This is a topic or subject that I talk about with different people on a daily basis, because I mean everything has changed. I mean, internet, from the digitalization to internet, and now comes AI that's gonna be the nail in the coffin for the whole fucking thing, you know.
Right.
And you have everything a click away on your Instagram or whatever the fuck it is on your phone. So people get spoiled. Nobody wants to. If everything is for free, how come you want to buy? How can you make people want to buy a full album and consume it like I did when I was a kid? If you look at it like this is a. I find it to be good to compare it out of your own niche or what do you say, business or your profession. So if you compare the music business to the movie business, now you have like Spotify, you have also Netflix, and you have Storytel or those kind of audiobooks things. Then you subscribe to that for $10 or $12 a month. Then you have access to the biggest library of music and also to movies and all that. So when I was a kid, I collected my monthly allowance or whatever and bought an album. It was a big deal. And if I listened to it, it's not as good as I expected it to be. But then you listen again and it grows on you. And all of a sudden you realize that, wow, that's song number 6. I didn't pay attention to that right away, but it's really, really good, really catchy chorus. And then it grows on you because you invested something in it. When you don't invest in something, it doesn't have any value. Same thing if I rented a movie back in the day, you know, you bought like chips and sodas and shit like that and rented a movie based on the cover. Wow, this is supposed to be so good. And then you sat there expecting, wow, miracles. And it was like, after 3 minutes, what the fuck is this? This is boring shit. Yeah. But then you had no other option. Then you have to watch it all the way through for an hour and a half. And it was like, wow, it was pretty good. The sense morale in the movie, it was all a dream. And then you could find out towards the end of the movie. Because you have patience. Same thing with, I mean, if I look at Netflix and I give it 3 minutes, what the fuck is this garbage? And then I change to something else. I have like 37 movies that I only watch for 2 minutes. So in my history, you know. And same thing with music. I mean, if you tell me, oh, check out that band, yeah, I go to the top list on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever. And I give it, it's not really my thing. And in the best of cases, I go to the second song, and then's the verdict. This is not for me. Fuck it. I haven't invested in anything. You know, so everything is, it is what it is nowadays. I mean, so everything is accessible around the clock, you know.
And like you mentioned too, I mean, it's like information overload, really, you know, where absolutely. You know, when we would go and hunt for an album, you know, you're buying off an artwork, you're buying off, you know, like when you saw the Kiss album, you buying based off of what seems like, okay, this is magical with your eyes, right? And now it's like, I'm guilty as the next guy. Like you said, you know, you get 7 seconds of something and you're moving on, because there's another thing coming right after your click. And you know, it's something that unfortunately for me, it just makes me revert back to all the shit that I listened to when I was 25, you know, because I don't like sorting through all the rubble on Spotify or on YouTube or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but it's an awkward time.
There are so many different aspects from this. I mean, we're talking metal music. I grow up with that, and that sort of dictated my life and all. And I would say it's herd mentality or group affiliation. You sort of identify with that kind of the music that was your breaking free from your parents when you're a teenager and all that. And for some reason, you're most open-minded and can soak it in from I'm just guessing, from when you're 8 until you're 18, and then you establish your own personality. I belong to that group, and here I feel comfortable. We share the same ideas and music taste and so forth, and then things tend to get stuck there, and you got to remain in that group for the rest of your life out of comfortability or whatever you say, and it feels good to go to festivals. Is it what's the draw? Is it the bands? Nah, it's to hang out with my friends who share the
Yeah.
same history and all that. Oh, metal will never die. It's very much like that. So we are, even if I'm so against that. I'm such a, I wouldn't say loner, but sort of I can't find a proper word for it, but this herd mentality. But at the end of the day, that's what we are.
Yeah.
You belong to this group, and it feels very comfortable to be around your like-minded people who grew up with the same kind of thing in the 80s or 90s or whatever. Yeah, but when were you born? What year?
I was born in 74.
74, okay. Yeah, but I can see those people who are like 5 years older than me, they got into the punk thing that happened in 77. Those who are, let's say, 7 years younger than me, they are more black metal and stuff, where it's sort of, it was the soundtrack to my youth revolution.
Right.
When I listened to that music, new wave of British heavy metal, everything exploded all over the world with, and the more extreme bands like Anvil or Mercyful Fate or Venom, and wow, this is the new shit. It's more extreme, and then you have like the whole thrash revolution and all that. So, and then you're part of that, and you kind of tend to get stuck there, and you're
Right.
not really open-minded for new stuff. And if I listen to Judas Priest, keep putting out great new albums, and so does Accept and all that. But the thing is that if I want my dose of Judas Priest, then I put on maybe Painkiller or British Steel or something that I have some sort of relationship to, that I grew up with, and all those memories, and that's really what I want. So if I go see a band and they play their new songs, fuck that. I want to hear Princess of the Dawn and Fast as a Shark, and something that I'm familiar with. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so when people tend to complain about, oh, they don't make any great music anymore. Nah, look yourself in the mirror. It's your fault. You stopped progressing. You get stuck. you know.
Yeah,
I was
yeah. I agree. I agree. And uh on a tinge of that subject, it's one thing that you've done that many musicians haven't done is you've bounced outside of your zone with so many different bands, like the variety of things. I think a lot of
mm,
musicians get pigeonholed into a specific, right? Like I play in this band and this is the style of music. And then next thing
uh,
you know, you're putting out 22 AC/DC albums, and
uh,
the bands that you've jumped, you've got to explore, and you can kind of see the restlessness in your ambition
yeah.
to create as a result. It's one of those things that I can relate to, where I'll sit at home and be like, oh man, I'd love to do a project that sounds like that, and then trying to
Mm,
figure out and compartmentalize how I'm going to make time to record 8 songs that sound like this.
yeah.
And it's a portion of you that I think you're fortunate that you've been brave enough to do, to span from, say, King Diamond to Dimmu Borgir, from Momento Mori to Notre Dame, to, what I mean, you've bounced considerably, and that
Yeah,
is
but I remember with this Triple X, it was a band called Loud and Nasty that sort of
yeah.
morphed to this Triple X thing. And I remember some guy wrote to me, "Oh, you used to be my hero. I fucking hate this shit, this glam bullshit." Yeah, but 70s glam. I
Yeah.
grew up with Sweet, Gary Glitter, and Bowie, and all that stuff. I mean, I don't like more. I like that just as much as I like Merciful Fate or
Mhm.
Rush or ABBA. Yeah, where is it?
that,
Yeah,
that
but,
was I was going to bring that up.
yeah, but to me, I mean, I'm not doing it to please anybody else. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I'm doing
Right.
this to please myself. I mean, I don't need your permission or to do things in life. I understand that it's more convenient to, okay, here's this guy, he represents satanic evil metal, and that's all he is. I put him
Mm-hmm.
in that box there. But this is just our expression in certain ways. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over the decades, don't you tend to be a little bit bored with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like good music. It doesn't matter what genre it is, basically. You know,
Yep.
the
I'm
older
right
I
there
get,
with
the
you.
more yeah. But I have allowed myself to do that. It doesn't matter. I don't need someone's approval to do that. Yeah, but you don't have to buy it. I live my
Mm-hmm.
life to please myself, not to please
Mm-hmm.
you. But if you like it, that's good. But I also lived by the motto my whole life, like, follow your heart. It will never lead you astray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of trying to please others. I mean, I'm just doing what I find stimulating or exciting or, yeah, fun or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a reason why a lot of musicians, because I've always been in that mindset, like I just could never stop. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
unplug one day and that's just the last record I'm gonna ever be a part of. That ain't gonna
yeah,
happen. And I can see potentially where some guys do that because they did the same thing over and over and then don't see the value of being creative anymore, to where if you're just allowing yourself to create and working with new people and doing these other things and branching out, it becomes more than just a band. It becomes art. It becomes an extension of your personality.
yeah. But I am sort of like a dinosaur in that sense. I consider music being an art form, not just a commodity or
Hmm.
your livelihood you earn from doing that, and you do what your fans expect you to do. So I'm just going to deliver the goods. One more album, keep the circus
Hmm.
going. And I can understand that people do that. But to me, I mean, uh, sometimes I thought like Dave Murray in Iron Maiden, he hasn't been very. He hasn't written a lot of music, I suppose, in the band. It's
Hmm.
mostly Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson, for example. And he's been in the band since '76, and he's just playing his songs. I mean, I don't want to single out him, but he's just an example, of course.
Hmm.
How can they be pleased and stimulated doing the same thing for fucking 50 years and
Yeah.
not express yourself musically? I mean, I know other musicians who like, okay, on the side of Rolling Stones, I'm also playing jazz or whatever, just to get that out of your system.
Yeah.
Uh, that I can understand because I mean, diversity is the trick to me in a way to keep it interesting, exciting. Um, in English, playing music, to play. I mean, it means like having fun. I would say.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
another word in Swedish though, but I want to have it playful. I want to be excited about it instead of, okay, this is what people expect. I'm going to deliver the goods and live up
Hmm.
to their expectations. I'm trying to surprise myself. Wow, this was really interesting, and it's very stimulating too. So when I did this triple X thing, for example, the main singer, was supposed to write all the lyrics, even though I wrote maybe the bulk of the songs and all that, and with melodies and so forth. But he couldn't come up with anything while I was on tour, but while on flights and all that. Wow, now I get to express myself in a completely different way, more like
Hmm.
Bowie and all that, because got yeah. I was working, let's say, Therion, which is kind of operatic and pompous and all that, and has that kind of thing, and to sort of balance it up, then you're doing some sort of glitter glam rock, you
Hmm.
know.
Right.
So to balance it up, because it tends to be too much of and singing some sort of whatever it is, the different languages and so on, and to do some sort of simple bubblegum jukebox glam rock. I mean,
Right.
wow. I mean, for me, it was like something I had been waiting for a long, long time, to express that kind of thing. That that I grew up with and that I
Mhm.
love. So it kind of balanced things up. I mean, it's been like that Dream Evil versus Notre Dame. I mean, it was very different.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I've always had the benefit of doing two or three bands at the same time to keep it on an even keel. Otherwise, it tend to be, oh, it's too much of that, so serious that I puke, really. So I want
Right.
to lighten things up a little bit.
Right.
No,
Right. Well, Snowy, I
yeah,
greatly appreciate you taking all this time to sit down with me.
I my
We've
pleasure.
already
I guess.
flown in 2 hours deep in this thing, and I feel
I
like you
just
can
realized I haven't been speaking much English lately, so I keep
we
losing
had
words.
knock the rust off here. But, I'm really looking forward to some of the new things you got coming out. I'm really looking forward to, checking out the Shawsomeness that's coming.
Yeah. It's gonna be a cool thing.
So keep me
Um,
posted on all of that because I definitely
I
want to
will.
check
I
that
will
out.
definitely.
And um, make sure you send me any links so I can get them in the description below so people can connect to
Absolutely.
all of your projects because there's a lot. And I highly recommend for those who know Snowy from one project or another to really do your research and kind of dig into stuff because I don't think it'd be very, very hard pressed to find another musician who's been in so many quality projects and bands. And explore it and check them out because as different and as varied as they all are, they're so uh, foundational to genre building things to where we are today, influencing bands where we are
Wow.
today. So you've been an influence of mine for decades. So for me to be able to, work with you on things and to have communications with you is inspiring because you are also very humble and you're very grounded in what you do. And the other thing that I will tell people in my working with Snowy is that he listens when you talk and as well as shares his information and going from that point, my point is to check out his book, buy his book, support this guy because he's doing independent things that help keep this uh personal the music that means so much to everybody. He's one of the gears that keeps it rolling. So nod of the hat to you, Snowy, for everything that you've done through the years, and I know you still have a lot of great things upcoming, and I'm looking forward to seeing what some of those things are, my friend.
Greatly appreciated. I'm
Well,
flattered. The
you've earned
kind
it, my
word.
friend. You've earned it, and again, looking forward to some of these cool things. And many, many thanks for taking all this time and sharing some history with us here tonight, man. I appreciate it.
I don't know if you need to edit it because I said a lot of stupid shit.
No, no.
Yeah,
Generally,
but
I don't. Generally, I don't add
that's
anything out unless someone says, "Hey, can you take that out?" I actually had a guest one time who basically gave his address and all the shit that he has in his house for backline. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah.
One thing.
But other than that,
Yep.
unless you tell me to take it out, it's going in here just like your book.
No. It is what it is. I mean, I have to just accept who I am, and I gotta say
Yeah.
that I meet people who come up to shake my hand and thank me for doing podcasts and stuff like that. And I said, I never listened to it because, it's so
Mm.
awkward because I don't have any filter between my brain and my mouth. I just spit it out. And
That's the
that's what
best way to
people
roll.
appreciate.
That's the best way to roll, man. It's the honest way to roll. It's
Yeah,
I think about the same
uh,
thing with me on here too. It's like I don't listen to any of these. I don't listen to any of my podcasts because I don't like hearing
uh,
myself. But it's
uh,
it's just the best way to roll is if you're thinking it and you say it, then it's the honest way. So
yeah, take it or leave it. That's the way I am. If you don't like
yeah.
me, okay, go ahead. I don't give a shit, basically. So. I
Awesome,
don't
brother.
live. I don't live my life to please you, but
There
I
you
mean,
go.
if you like what I do, that's fine.
Exactly. Exactly. Cool,
Uh,
man. Well, thanks again, and we'll stay in touch. It's been a pleasure, my friend. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it was great. Thank you
yes,
so much. It's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure for me. Yeah.